The Yes 101 Drag was held on the 15th of September 2019. It was organized by the Sri Lanka Air Force, the Ceylon Motorsports Club, and the Drag Racing Association of Sri Lanka. This round in September was actually the third round and the final round of the 2018 championship.
And I would love to change the world, but I can't even quit these cigarettes. And every time I take a hit,
it was an absolutely amazing day out. We conducted a driver's briefing on the Friday before so that everyone would understand, especially for newcomers, what the layout and what the procedure would be for the drags on Sunday.
And I would love to change the world, but I can't even quit these cigarettes. And every time I take a hit,
So we brought the entire Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is pretty much the starting lights for the drags, where there's a countdown from a staging light, a pre-staging light, a staging light, and then your final lights, which is the three yellows, the green and the red, so that the drivers would know when to start the event, when to start their race, and how to conduct themselves on the track. We showed this so that they could understand the way that the lighting system would work and how fast their reaction time would make the difference. We had over 150 entries for the drags this year, and it was actually one of the highest numbers that we had competing. We had over 100 individuals who turned up at the driver's briefing who were given their dockets, which included their competitor pass, their pit pass and their crew passes, so that they would be able to enter the base on Sunday. And of course, it was very important that they attended the briefing so that they would understand what was needed from them and also what the Drag Racing Association of Sri Lanka was about and how the meet would be conducted. On a normal given day, have everyone from the officials, the competitors, the crew together so that they would know what is needed in terms of the way they can help their competitors, how they should behave, and also the most important part is what safety procedures we had on the day, so that at the end of the day, drag racing is a fast sport and we have very high horsepower cars, so you do not want any implications for spectators or crew to happen on the day. The reporting time for all competitors on Sunday was 7 a.m. So what that meant was they would have to come in, make sure that they had their cars in their tents and start getting ready for scrutineering. They would have to bring their cars up to a specially demarcated scrutineering area where our officials would go through to make sure that the cars were safe to run and comply to all the regulations that were required for their class. So after scrutineering is done, the competitors are then given a time slot to run their qualifying runs. So what this means is we say that there is an hour or two for Q1, where all the competitors can come whenever they want and do their first qualifying run. The qualifying run is important because this is what gives them the time for them to run their event. So the fastest car with the qualifying time runs the slowest car of qualifying time in their class. Say you had a 10-second run, you would be first. The car with the 10.8 could be last. So then your qualifying run determines the tree that the drag racing event actually holds. So the person with the fastest time would then run the person with the last time. The attempt being that the two fastest times then end up in the final. Unfortunately, on Sunday, it was a very wet event. And even though the rain was predicted, we didn't expect it to be as constant as it did throughout the day. What this meant was that we had to allow the drivers to gauge the conditions. So instead of immediately running the qualifying runs, as we call them, we gave them a window of 2 hours to run as many times as they want on the track, just to assess the water conditions and to make sure that they were comfortable with their cars and the handling of their vehicles going through water. We did this to ensure the safety to begin with, that the competitors themselves didn't doubt themselves, and also that we could assess whether the cars were capable of handling standing water. For our luck, within those 2 hours the track did clear, and then we were able to really start the qualifying run. After a few years' absence, we finally had the Superbikes run the drags. This meant that there was one class which had 10 up to 1000cc superbikes, as we like to call them, take part. And of course there were some very famous names running: Madhuranga Caldera, Sriyantha, I mean some seriously good riders. They took part even with the wet conditions. The officials made sure that most of them weren't allowed to run full slicks. So full slick tires in the rain are not great because you don't get much traction. So we asked for them to run semi-slicks or wet weather tires, and most of them complied. If not most, they had to comply.
Look what we done with the earth. Too goddamn selfish, only concerned with net worth. Polluting the air to beat the ozone layer.
So the bikes did run with standing water, and Madhuranga Caldera on his bike set the fastest time of the day with a 10.7-second run, which given the fact that it was a wet track, was unbelievably fast. So Madhuranga ran the fastest time of the day, and the bikes themselves, out of the 10, did immensely well.
That's what I came here for. I'm rocking so hard that I'm making your ears sore. Feel the bass starts to squeeze. Feel the mirror drum start to roll. Feel the green as you're coming for more. Feel that beat kicking down your door. I'll give you more roars on set trees. Feel my flow as I rock the beat. Cause I got a job of the make you move. So I gotta come through. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Don't blame me.
And again, because it was a wet track, you know, there are chances of cars losing traction and possibly going off even early into their run where spectators were. So we kept ensuring that the officials moved the spectators, and with a large crowd that turned up at the drags, we always have over 3,000, 5,000 people that come for these events, and they always tend to come up against the wall or to watch as close as possible. So we would stop the event and ask the spectators kindly to please move back to their designated areas in aim of making sure they were safe. Safety is always a primary concern with the drags, and as CMSC and BRASL officials, it is our job to make sure that no one is injured, be it a competitor or even a spectator.
Yo, rock the beat, that's what I came here for. I'm rocking so hard that I'm making your ears sore. Feel the bass starts to
Of course, two things you don't consider together are drag racing and cricket. But on Sunday, we technically had them both. A superstar, a rock star of Sri Lankan sports, Lasith Malinga. I mean, that name doesn't need to be told twice. He has a beautiful BMW i8 and he took part. So we had a BMW i8 invitational event and he drove his i8 at the event. I mean, it's amazing when you see this gentleman who is such a popular figure and he turns up on the day with so many people around, and like he's a part of the team, like he was a part of the entire racing fraternity, and he drove his car, and it was amazing that a gentleman of his stature would come out on the day, support the event, be with the spectators, enjoy a day out, because that's what it's all about. He raced his I-8 against another couple of I-8s. He did well, of course, but unfortunately the winner of the event had a much quicker car, which had been chipped and had an exhaust on it. So that gave him a fraction of a second needed to win the event. But I sincerely hope that Lasith Malinga had a really good day out, and we do hope that he comes again for the next one. We also did have supercars take part in the event, and we were lucky that we saw the Porsche GT3 RS owned by Hiran run against a Ferrari 488 owned by Gayan, and they gave the crowd another spectacle. I mean, it's one thing to see the cars on the road, but it's another to see them flat out on a runway, you know, just hearing that exhaust note and that engine. It's an unbelievable, it's beautiful. So the spectators thoroughly enjoyed that, and we always hope to have more supercars running. Unfortunately, with the wet weather, the other cars weren't too keen on taking part, but Gayan in his Ferrari and in the GT3 RS with Iran, they complied, and guess what? Everyone had a really good day. So we've been conducting the drags for a long time now, over 10 years. And over the time, we've tried to grow the sport as much as possible. And with that comes a lot more people. We started off with 30 cars, 60, 90, 100, and now 150. So what's important is that the competitors and the spectators, because it's such a sport where everyone is so close together, that they behave, for lack of a better word. And I'm honestly pleased to say that everyone that came on the day really behaved. We didn't have any spectators coming and, you know, doing stunts in the paddocks or doing burnouts. The competitors themselves had a designated area that they could pull into, the dummy grid, a burnout box, and then onto the start line. And everyone listened to the rules. And I think when people listen and obey, it makes the event that much better. And I'm truly happy to say that the majority of the people that turned up on the day really did that. They obeyed the officials. They made sure that they were in the right place at the right time. And in the end, everyone had a really good day. With the event itself, we must say a big thank you to the Sri Lanka Air Force, as this event is run at their base. And the base commander and squadron leader Udaya, who have always been very instrumental in helping us make the event great, really did everything possible on the day to make it amazing. Few special categories take part this time. For one, we had the hybrid event. So the hybrid event is meant for people that have normal road-going cars to come and take part. So for example, we had Toyota Aquas, we had Honda Fits, we had Nissan Leafs, we had your daily car, the person who takes it from family shopping to a day of drag racing. it's a big shout out to those guys that took part. And then we had another great class, which was the up to 3000cc turbo diesel, which meant that everyone with their BMWs, the 520Ds, the 320s, the X1s, I mean, these are cars that literally you and I or anyone could go family shopping in, and they came out and drag raced them. So the fun thing about drag racing is you don't have to have a specially built car for it. You can use your road going family car to come out and put the foot flat down on a runway. We had a TNJ event, which meant trucks and jeeps. We had Porsche Cayenne, we had Land Rover, Range Rover, Subaru Foresters. I mean, these are cars that you don't expect to be racing, but guess what? They were racing.
Sunrise,
So we hope to make sure that from the next event we have more classes like that. We would love to have a Suzuki class, we would love to have a Maruti class, we would love to have a Wagoner club come and run their cars. So we hope that the cars that normally take part on the road as a shopping vehicle comes to the drags as a race vehicle.